Hello, YouTube. Okay, so I don't normally do this, but, yeah, I really do like the show Steven Universe, and I don't really get to talk about it that often. I've only talked about it once, and that was in its very second Steven Bomb. And now the fourth Steven Bomb has come out. Yeah, I guess I'm just doing the even number of Steven Bombs. So I really want to talk about this one, because this one was pretty good. So yeah, with that, let's get into the first episode. Alright, so in episode 1 of the Steven Bomb, we learn about how Garnet was formed and how Ruby and Sapphire met. Now, I want to get this out there. I always feel weird when watching these two, because it just doesn't feel right. Um, to me, it just feels really weird to see, especially on a kid show. I mean, I guess I could get on an adult show why they would have that they can have that, but in a kid show, it just feels kind of weird. But then I need to take into, but then I think, oh yeah, the gems are genderless. They just always choose female form for some reason, and then I'm fine. But and so pretty much we learn that in that cloud arena that we see Connie being trained by Pearl on. I think that's what it was, at least. Like, maybe that's it years before it was destroyed and everything, I don't know. But, we see it, we see that Sapphire, a very diplomatic and rare gem, has now come to this Sky Arena to tell Blue Diamond, who we've never seen before, so that's really awesome, um, about her vision of the future and how the small band of rebels, yeah, this one's our band of 2 people, the biggest threats, will finally be coming to an end. Although there will be 7 casualties, including 2 of her Ruby guards and herself. So, so these events do almost come to occur, but then they're all destroyed. By whom? Ruby. She is now, right before Sapphire is about ready to get popped. Yeah, she could come back from that, but I guess Ruby's really sentimental about this. Um, right before she gets poofed, um, Ruby rushes in and then they fuse, forming Garnet for the very first time, and was she modeled after Cotton Candy here? I mean, really, she looked like Cotton Candy. I don't know why. Um, and their color of clothing isn't even that light. And why is her hair like that? I mean, her hair is black later, so does her hair color just change with time? Does she dye it all the time? I don't know. But so now she's also the very first fusion of 2 other types of gems. Unless if you look into the Diamond Authority is made out of fusion theory, then yeah, it's not the first time, but still, it probably is the very first time. And now all the other gems up there, including Lapis. So, take that theory that Lapis is Blue Diamond. She's in the room, so it can't be. Um, so now we pretty pretty much they're all gathering around her. They're all really angry at her because she's a fusion, I guess. What abomination! And eventually, Blue Diamond's voice cuts through the crowd, and she says that she's going to break Ruby because she's pretty much responsible for all of this. So Sapphire, not knowing what to do, grabs Ruby's hand and rushes through, jumps off the cloud arena, and then they fall down very, very calmly onto Earth. Yeah, they don't even get a scratch. And so now they're stuck on Earth forever, but at least this will get them some time to know each other. So they start doing that, they start talking, and they sing. Yeah, okay. This song is pretty good, but the weird, but I just feel so uncomfortable singing it. Like, it's a good song. It just feels rather uncomfortable for me to sing along with it. But then they eventually sing, and then Ruby's pretty much concerned that she pretty much screwed up Sapphire's life. Sapphire says, "Oh well, no, you didn't. You saved my life, and also I'm not the only one who stepped down here. You are." So after reminding her that, I guess, then they sing "Stronger Than You." Okay, they hum it. So yeah, I guess they've been working on that for a little bit now, and then they fuse into Garnet again. She falls down, and actually kind of a funny scene. And then she bumps into Rose and Pearl. Rose tells her, welcome to Earth," which Garnet will later tell to Peridot. I guess she remembered that. And then she joins the rebellion. And this was all just a big story told to Steven for his birthday. So, yeah, this isn't that bad of an episode. It just feels rather awkward for me. My entire love between Ruby and Sapphire just feels really odd, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it just feels really strange. Even though the gems are genderless, and I have to apply that every time I see Ruby and Sapphire, because they're not bad characters, it just feels rather strange to me. But at least they do seem like at least they are good characters, and I do like seeing them. We also see how Sapphire and Ruby got their ice and fire powers, which, can Garnet use that? I mean, Garnet can use the future vision thing from Sapphire, so can she use the ice and fire? Or is that just something individual to Ruby and Sapphire? Because if so, she needs to use that. But yeah, it's not a bad episode, and it is kind of sweet that this is all just a story that she's telling to Steven because she promised him. That's kind of nice. But I don't know. I think it's a little bit weird in its delivery because of the whole entire lesbian thing. Yeah, pretty much the whole entire song. I just started calling it the lesbian song on Steven Universe because it just feels so weird to me. Again, might just be me. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a lot of other people, but it feels rather strange to me. And I do try and overlook it. So this isn't a bad episode. There are some really cool things. I like the art design on all the gems on Homeworld because we can't really see their physical outfits or anything. They're not that detailed. They're kind of just silhouettes with their gems in the back and everything. So that's pretty cool to see. It's really only Sapphire, Ruby's, a Pearl, which looks pretty cool. Although unfortunately she doesn't get any lines. Bummer. And Blue Diamond that gets detail. So yeah, it's not a bad episode, but it's not one of my favorites either. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to learn about how Ruby and Sapphire were first formed and how Garnet was made and how she's the very first fusion of two different types of gems. That's really cool. And we do actually get to learn something about Homeworld here. We get to learn that the sort of the ranking of gems is on their rareness. Like Sapphire is a rare gem, so she's very diplomatic. Diamonds are the rarest, so they're of course at the highest point. And other gems fall in between. Peridots are sort of low, rubies are a little bit lower, and pearls are pretty much the lowest. So that's kind of cool. And I have actually heard kind of an interesting theory about the pearls, which I want to bring up here. Um, it said that pearls that belong to, like Pearl, the Pearl that we know on Earth, yeah, she belonged to White Diamond. And White Diamond had a gem on her head. And Blue Diamond, for one, is blue, and also has a gem sort of in her chest area, the same position where Blue Diamond has it. And the same goes for Yellow Diamond. So that's kind of cool. We still haven't seen Pink Diamond yet, but that's not a big deal. But yeah, that was kind of a neat theory. I think that one actually I can buy into. Although, the weird thing is, we have no idea what happened to Blue Diamond. So, yeah, is Blue Diamond still on Homeworld in control? I don't know. We might have actually seen her inside that haunted, um, lighthouse episode. Maybe that was her, I don't know. So we might have seen her before. It's kind of cool to think about Blue Diamond being on Earth and stuff. And yeah, I think this is a pretty good episode, but there are some things that are pretty lacking in it. Like, I just really couldn't get into their relationship. But hey, that's just me, maybe. So yeah, on to episode 2. Okay, so this is episode 2 of the Steven Bomb, entitled Steven's Birthday. And yeah, take a wild guess what this episode's about. Um, so it is Steven's birthday, and he's turning 14. Yeah, 'cause he always looked 14. He always looked like my age. So they do actually explain why he looks like he's like 7 or 8, maybe 9 if you want to go out there a little bit. It's because at the age of 8, he actually stopped growing. So yeah, I guess he does appear at the age of 8. And they say that the reason for this is probably because he's half gem, and so he's going to age slower. This, of course, gets Connie a little bit upset, and Steven a little, bit upset as well. But then Greg comforts Connie by saying human beings, and they high five, and then everything's fine. But not so much for Steven. But when he sees Amethyst stretch and to hang up a banner, then he decides, hey, I can do that too. So he decides to stretch out his body a bit, which somehow makes his voice change. Try explaining that one. And so now he appears to be 14, and even sounds 14. Now, one cool thing about this is that Steven's voice actor this whole time has been purposely adding a little bit more of a high pitch to his voice. So that was actually that kid's real voice. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I guess if they were to actually make him appear 14, he would still have the voice of he would still have the same voice actor. So that's pretty neat. Although when I first heard him, I was just thinking, oh my god, what got into Steven's body? Get out of him. That's really what I first thought. So it took a little bit of time to get used to, but like 30 seconds later, I was fine with it. So, and so it is kind of cool to actually see him appear 14. Um, yeah, so I guess he'd never thought about having to buy any new clothes or anything, because now his clothes are rather small on him, but Connie gets him a new shirt, which works better as a jacket now. They Garnet blows out his candles for some reason, and Steven's pretty much smiling very oddly, like this whole episode. Yeah, he's just like weirdly smiling and pausing while he's smiling and looking at Connie like 2 times in this episode. I mean, like, what was he thinking about? I mean, yeah, okay, he did just turn 14, but still. But eventually, the effects of him stretching out his body, yeah, I still get. Is he really stretching out his body? Because to me, I thought it was just like that so many birthdays sort of thing where how he feels mentally age-wise, then that's how he'll appear physically. That's what I thought it was. But nope, he's stretching out his body, I guess. But it eventually starts to take its toll as it's starting to really hurt him. and is becoming very dangerous. Amethyst and Greg eventually catch him in the act, and they try to warn. And Amethyst tries to warn him about it, but then Steven uses Greg's words against him and runs away. And in a scene that I really think should have came, like what a little bit of dialogue that should have come in when Connie was dancing with Steven. Connie's pretty much saying she was a little bit worried about him not growing up. And yeah, I think that this little bit of dialogue would have been better used in their dance scene. Because I don't know, that would make more sense to why he would lash out a little bit. But yeah, I mean it still works here. But then right after she says that, then he magically turns into a baby. Try explaining that one. And I guess mentally he turned into a baby too. Okay, all that changed was his height, but I guess that changes your mind too? Okay. And Connie says that she's fine with taking care of him while the gems are away and while Greg is working on at the car wash, which eventually causes Steven to stop crying. And then Amethyst goes Pee-wee's Playhouse on us, and I was actually kind of jumped when I saw her as actually like that child safety seat. That I actually sort of jumped in it because I had no idea that was her. I thought that Greg just carried around one of those things for some reason because he never let go of anything. But or like just in case if he needed it. Um, but eventually Steven does get his age to fluctuate, and now he's back to normal. But he's had a very big change. He's got one facial hair. Dun dun dun. Yeah, and I guess he wasn't that happy with it because he shaves it off later. But, I guess that saved the animators one line. That would have been so hard to animate. So, yeah, it's still kind of this is actually my favorite episode in this Steven Bomb. I really do like what they do with it. But I think that the best way I can describe why I like this one is that it's pretty much my alone together. Like, that was an episode a lot of people liked with Steven and Connie, and yeah, this is kind of my version of that. Or at least I sort of got the same thing from it. So, what people got from the episode Alone Together, I thought that episode was an okay episode, but this is sort of the one that's like that for me. Um, but there were some kind of interesting things in this, like, how is Steven gonna grow up? Um, now what I think is he might grow slower than a human, but he will eventually die of age. We need to take into account that he's half human and half gem. And gems can live as long as they want, as long as they're not broken. But Steven has an organic body. Would he even be able to regenerate after being poofed? Yeah, so I'm really wondering a lot of things about this. This one really got me going on like a half an hour rant after I watched it, just wondering about how he's going to grow up, what exactly would happen, and how it would all go down. Um, but yeah, that I really do love this episode. We only got like a few seconds of Peridot, and I think that's kind of nice. Like, they've been doing a lot with Peridot so far, and they'll do a lot more later. So, yeah, I think it's kind of nice that we took a little bit of a break from Peridot because we've been seeing a lot of her lately, and yeah, we just need a little bit of a break from her being the main focus of everything. So it's kind of nice to see her just have, like, a 30-second speechless cameo. So that was kind of nice. I like how Steven uses his dad's own words against him, and that's pretty much their whole entire argument. It's just like, well, what you said back in the van, okay, argument over. So, I really do like, what they do with this one. It's a very fun episode, but it also has a lot of neat things going on in it. Um, Although, if I do have a problem with it, like, this is just a minor nitpick, I kind of think of the second half when he's like when he's a baby and everything, isn't as strong. Um, it just felt like it kind of got a little bit weaker. And also in the dance scene, I think that Connie should have said what she says is a picnic scene, because to me that would be more of a reason for him to lash out at Anthus and Greg later. It just seems more fitting there to me. But I don't know. So, and at the picnic area, I think that she should have said what she said, the dancing scene. But yeah, those are just minor nitpicks. This is still a really good episode, and I really love what they did with it. This episode is great. I love most of the stuff in it. The second half might be a bit weaker, but it's still a really fun episode. So on to episode 3. Life and death and love and birth and peace on the planet Earth. Is there anything that's worth more than peace and love on the planet Earth? Yeah, that song is freaking catchy. Really, that song got stuck in my head for a while. It's still in my head actually. But so this is episode 3, and as you can guess, it starts off with a song, and the very first time we're actually gonna hear Peridot sing. So that's kind of cool. When she, even though when Steven's playing the ukulele and Peridot's just talking, it still kind of sounds like she's singing, doesn't it? I don't know. Maybe that's just me again. But so this is a pretty big episode for a lot of things that happen. Um, so let's start from the beginning. So pretty much all of the gems have taken a break except for Peridot. They've taken a break from the drill because they've been doing pretty good, and they decided just to look at the view. And it's actually a pretty nice view, but for some odd reason, Steven, the one who's talking about how good the view is the only one not looking at the view. He's actually right behind Lion, so I guess he was just imagining how the view looked. Um, Peridot comes up and is wondering why everyone is taking a break, because everything's gonna be blown to oblivion if they don't keep on working. We almost forgot that. Thanks for reminding us. Um, and so Steven tells her about taking a break because I guess she needed that lesson, and eventually sings a song about and eventually starts singing a song, and he tries to get Peridot to sing along. She eventually does, and she even writes her own song. And this sort of leads into a little bit of a montage clip of the gems working on the drill, and Peridot actually fitting in more. So this is actually kind of an important song in the overall story arc with Peridot. Um, we get to see her fitting in more with the gems. We get to see how she's improved ever since she's gone on Earth, how she's taken more into account the beauty of Earth, and how she wants to stand up for it a little bit more, because there are things that are worth protecting on it. She so we do start to see some of that with her character, and they finally finish up the drill. Yay! But now they gotta get coordinates to where the cluster is in order to drill down to it. So they go to an old diamond base, which is on the moon. Of course it is. I guess that was the only thing the gems ever built on the moon, because we actually don't see anything else. Um, but I don't think that we get that they're on the moon yet. Why don't they open up a door showing us that they're on the moon? Okay, now we're on the. Okay, now it's clear that they're on the moon. Um, and how they get up here, they don't have any of the galaxy warps active. Well, they get up here by using the lion, who still has his cool warping power, and now we can actually see what it's like to be warping with, um, in lion's form of it. So that's really cool. It kind of looks like a video game to me, actually. It looks really awesome. So, but this eventually gets Lion kind of tired, so he just takes a nap, which is actually the reason why he came up here, to protect naps, because that's his biggest concern, I guess. So, so now they're on the moon. We learn a little bit more about the Diamond Authority and Yellow Diamond. We actually do get to see Yellow Diamond outside that extended song. So that's pretty cool. But we do get to see more of her later, so that's pretty. So that's something. And they start going up through this through the space on the moon. We see some ominous thing. I think it's a gem. Um, or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's like a power source. I don't know. Locked in this very dark room that's rather empty. Aside from this, Steven just sort of stops and looks at it, but then Garnet says, "Oh, nope, that's not what we're here for. Let's just ignore that." So, I guess we're not supposed to wonder what that is. Yeah, no, I'm gonna keep on wondering what that is. Um, because I'm about as intrigued as Steven was by it. So they get to the top. Steven confirms yet again that they're on the moon. Again, we almost forgot. Um, so they so they go and look under the file for the cluster. They find out its location. Steven wonders if there's any games on this thing. There, of course, aren't any. But they eventually but they eventually go into the original plans for Earth, and how it was planned on being hollowed out. Earth, all the water supply on Earth was actually going to be the core of Earth, because that's stable. And then there was going to be tons of different kindergartens, and all sorts of stuff on Earth. And Peridot says, asks why they even want to shut this down, because it could have been great. This eventually leads into a fight, which ends up on Peridot calling out Rose Quartz. Yeah, I wanted to hit her in the face at this point, and Garnet pretty much about ready to do that for me, but then Steven says that she's not worth it, so she stops. And man, do I wish Steven didn't say that, because to me, I was honestly thinking, okay, Garnet, punch her in the face for me. But, nope, she didn't. And they all end up leaving, but Peridot has seemed to swipe something away from this temple, and somehow Steven is the only one who notices. Because I guess it being hidden right in the back of her hand, yeah, that's real secretive. Um, and now this is the thing that gets Steven annoyed. Okay. Out of everything else that she said, that's the annoying thing, I guess. And that's where the episode ends. So, okay, the song in this episode is awesome. I just want to get that out of the way. It's a very eventful song. A lot of important things happen for Peridot's character, and it's also very catchy. Um, so yeah, it's a really cool song. And the drill finally being done is a very big accomplishment. They got the coordinates for it now, so everything's ready to go. And now they can pretty much finish up the cluster. They can destroy it. But there is, and we got some foreshadowing later for that thing on the moon, because there is an episode that will be coming out later called Back to the Moon. So I'm guessing it's going to involve that thing that Steven was looking at. So that's pretty cool. But pretty much the thing that I like in this episode is how, for one, we get to learn a little bit more about the Diamond Authority. Two, just the differing opinions on whether or not Rose Quartz and the Rebellion was worth it. And that's actually kind of an interesting theory. Like, was it really worth it in the end? I mean, the cluster still is around. It's still going to cause terrible things. So in the end, was it really worth it? That's kind of a good point. But then again, they could still stop the cluster. So it's probably very certain that it was worth it. And then there's the thing that disappointed me. Okay, so when I saw Peridot calling out Rose Quartz, I immediately thought back to the episode Lars and the Cool Kids. And I was really hoping to see another outburst like that from Steven, because that scene was awesome. That was the very first, and so far the only time, that we've actually seen Steven be pushed to a breaking point. And with very good reason. But he has never done that since. And now, Peridot, the person that he's been sticking his neck out for so many times, is calling out his mother. Now, I honestly think that Steven should have been in Garnet's place here. I really do. I really think that Steven should have been the one about ready to hit Peridot. I mean, really, that's what should have happened. To me, that's what should have happened. Now, it's good what goes down. It's pretty cool. But really, I think it should have been Steven instead of Garnet who was doing that. It would just have much more impact. But, you know, I mean, it's still a pretty cool scene. Although when Peridot steals this diamond thing, diamond communicator, then that's when it pushes Steven too far. Really. The calling out of your mother wasn't too much, but, oh no, a little diamond device. Better get all over that. I mean, really, that just doesn't seem right, to me, but, I don't know. But it's still pretty good scene, and a pretty good episode, we do learn a lot about the ideas of the colonies on Earth, and what was going to be what was going on, what was going to happen to Earth, and why it was good that the gems eventually stopped us. So this was a pretty cool episode. But the next one is definitely much more eventful. So let's get on to that one. When are they ever gonna get to the interesting stuff? Like, when are they ever gonna continue with their story? I mean, they just keep on taking so many breaks. Okay, yeah, no, this episode was awesome. And so once the gems have returned from the moon base, they are now inputting the coordinates and talking about doing some tests first before actually executing their plan. But Steven has other things on his mind, like what Peridot is up to. So he goes into the barn to actually talk to Peridot about it. But then he tries to be a little bit discreet and getting her and tells her to get into this truck so they can talk about the Diamond Authority. So when they eventually start talking about that gets Peridot off topic, and he's able to grab the diamond. So now Peridot is stuck by the world's greatest trapping device, the child safety lock. I seriously love that joke. And now she's trapped in there, so Steven wants to find out what she's up to, And she explains so very subtly, really, this is the this is the best way to get him on her side. Just look.
I have a plan. Allow me to explain. It's a communicator. Meant for the express purpose of contacting the diamonds back on Homeworld. You're still trying to contact Homeworld? Yes, of course. I figured it out. You simple clocks keep trying to protect the Earth, but you can't do anything right. I let myself get carried away too. Laughing, singing, building our little machine. But don't you see? None of that matters. All that matters is that I'm of use to Yellow Diamond. This planet can be of use to Yellow Diamond. I must contact her to reveal what I've discovered. But the diamonds are bad. They don't care about the Earth. They wanted to hollow it out, and now they want to blow it up with a cluster. Yes, yes, that's the point. Why do I keep saying?
Like I said, subtle. So he leaves her trapped in the car and closes the barn doors because that'll stop her. And he goes and tells the gems about the communication device. So they're of course not taking it well either, but so of course, I mean, they're gonna bubble it, right? So they can go to the temple so then she can't get her hands on it. Nope. They're instead just going to hold on to it and talk about it for a bit, allowing her enough time to eventually break out and try and retrieve it. And learn how to use a horn, I guess, because that was always her biggest problem. Um, and so now she's in her giant robot because I guess they kept that, and she's now grabbed the diamond and is going away. She's running away, trying to call Yellow Diamond. So Anthus turns into a helicopter and goes to chase after her, while Steven is feeling terrible that he even gave her that trust. And Pearl very well comforts him by saying that he can feel horrible all he wants back at the temple, so that makes him feel even worse. But they eventually Steven does end up being the one who's fighting off Peridot, and probably pretty angry at her at this point. But she manages to actually turn the diamond and call Yellow Diamond. All the gems hide behind the destroyed robot as Peridot calls in to report. And we also see Yellow Diamond's Pearl, who I think is voiced by the same actress who voices Pearl. So that's kind of cool. And I don't know, maybe all the Pearls have the same voice. But to me, this one Pearl that we see here sort of seems like that girl from Ghostbusters, like Janine, I think her name was. Yeah, I don't know why. She just sort of reminds me of her. Um, like I kind of expected her to pick up saying Yellow Diamond, what do you want? Um, but yeah, I don't know. She just sort of seems like that to me. And then we get to see Yellow Diamond, and um, a few things. Why is her neck so long? I mean, really, what's up with that? And her shade of yellow is not a very nice shade. There are other shades of yellow that don't look this pukish, I would say. Um, and I mean, really, you kind of gone with a better color. But outside of that, she does look pretty cool, and I think that she's the first character on the show to actually have pupils. So that's kind of neat. And I love how they're a diamond. I love little details like that. So I just love how it's just like a little diamond as her pupil. That is so clever. Um, but now but Peridot is actually standing up against Yellow Diamond and is saying, well, we can use the Earth for resources, and it has very good potential. But Diamond doesn't care about any potential resources or anything logical like that. No, all she wants to do is just see it destroyed. because there's nothing that they can gain from it, I guess. So, Peridot actually does stick up for Earth and even calls Yellow Diamond a clod. And this gets Yellow Diamond pretty annoyed, and Peridot eventually hangs up, and probably the coolest part of this episode, Peridot is now a traitor to her homeworld, and is officially a crystal gem. Okay, so a few things about this episode. I really do like how guilty Steven feels about this. Although, again, I do kind of wish that there was a little bit of a lashing out point at this. But there is sort of that, but it's just not that big as you would expect it to be. Um, and I like the new Pearl. I like this other yellow Pearl, and I like Yellow Diamond on here. They're that's pretty cool to introduce these two. I honestly think it was a pretty cool episode. It's nice to see how the gems react to it. Um, and the drill is now complete, so they can go down there and dismantle the cluster. But I'm just delaying the biggest part of this. The fact that Peridot is now a gem. One of the crystal gems. Oh my god. Okay, so there are quite a few cool things that they can do with this. One, where's her gem on the star door on the temple gonna go? Is that gonna go in the center, or are they going to have a six-sided star and put that there? I don't know, but that sounds odd. But I'm seriously questioning, what will her room look like? How do they create a new room in the temple? Can they create a new room in the temple? Do they have room? Do they have to create a new room, or do they have like tons of little empty rooms that they can put in? How many other gems can fit inside the temple? Does she have to change her clothes? Does she have to put on a star now? Is she how are the gems gonna treat her? Are they going to are they not really gonna accept her at first? I mean, she was still a traitor. She was still their enemy at first, so there are a lot of cool things that they could do with this. And it's really nice to see the creation of a new crystal gem. So now we can sort of see that process too. Although if I do have one little nitpick, it's that I think that Peridot is just okay. I mean, like, a lot of people love her, and I can see that. She's a pretty cool character, but I don't really like her that much. I mean, at times her voice can get a little bit annoying to me, so yeah, I mean, I'm glad that she's gonna be on the show, and it's cool to have a new crystal gem, but I hope that she's not like a main focus crystal gem. I hope that she's sort of just like is given equal time as the others. And also, I'm kind of curious as to how she's going to feel being a new crystal gem. That sounds kind of cool. And my final nitpick on it is that I do wish that Lapis had joined the crystal gems before her, because I love Lapis. Lapis is my favorite of the homeworld gems, and I really want to see her join the crystal gems. I'm sorry, she just seems so perfect for it. I'm hoping that once they get her out of Malachite and everything and defeat Jasper, then she can actually join the crystal gems. Cause where else is she gonna go? Um, and I really want to see that with her. And it would be kind of nice for Peridot now to have like someone else to talk to about Homeworld and stuff. So I think that Lapis could sort of fit. So I really want to see Lapis come back too. But it's really cool to have Peridot now as an official crystal gem. So a lot of cool and big stuff happened in this episode. Um, and I'm really curious as to what's going to be going on in the next ones. So speaking of which, let's get on to that one. Okay, so now we're on episode 5, the last of the Steven bomb, and it starts off with Peridot entering another long date, 7:15 2, I think it was. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. and she's pretty much saying she pretty much goes into denial about what she said about Yellow Diamond. Um, she's very excited at one moment, and then the next she's terrified. So that's actually a pretty good reaction to it. It seems very reasonable. And Garnet eventually comes in, and she Steven says that at least the tape recorder is helping because he needed to get the tape recorder for this episode, I guess. And so then she says, so then she pretty much just says, no, it's not. It's her chronicle and the madness. Give it back to the source of madness, which is Steven. And so then we see that Peridot and Garnet are actually hanging out pretty well. So now Steven's wondering, when did that happen? So he decides to check out her tape recorder. And we first get to see her observing a ladybug and then seeing it fly, wondering if everything on Earth flies. She goes and meets Greg and then pushes him off the roof and tries to kill him. Then after that, she is she is she's doing some chores and cleaning out the barn and is using the wrong side of the broom. Common mistake. Weird because eventually she actually is using the right side. So I guess she just learned. Um, and then she finds a drawer full of a little box full of clothes and tries them on. Garnet walks in and then she pretty much denies that she was ever even doing any of that. Um, and then we see her looking into a joke book. She reads she reads off the joke about why the chicken crossed the road. She doesn't get it at first, so she'll get it later. Then Steven is showing her a TV show, and this scene is just hilarious. This episode is a very funny episode. This is probably the funniest out of the Steven bomb. Now I don't know if it's the funniest in the show yet, but it's a really funny episode. And we pretty much see how Peridot felt about watching the show. At first, she didn't like it, but then she started watching more and more episodes. No, actually, she started watching one episode and just kept on watching that one over and over for 3 whole days. And eventually worked out a very complex um, reasoning as to which character should get with which. Wait, no, actually, no, she's not even talking about about all the characters. No, she's talking about two that should get together. And she goes on that for the whole night to Steven, who eventually just falls asleep and falls down off the couch. And Garnet even enters the picture and just gives a thumbs up. This, for some odd reason, causes annoyance in Peridot, and she rips up her paper. So then after that, then we see that they're working on the drill some more, and then she talks to Anthus about her shapeshifting abilities, and she wonders why she uses it all the time, and Anthus pretty much just replies with, why not? I guess that's the reason. Um, and then she asks her to shapeshift into a chicken so then she can understand the joke. She does, so then she laughs at it. Then Pearl tells a joke. They both laugh at it, and then they end with a freeze frame in how Peridot is starting to warm up to Pearl and Anthus, but she's not warming up so much to Garnet. Until the next night, or maybe the same night, or a different night, I don't know which night, where they are finishing up the drill, and Anthus and Pearl fuse into Opal. And man, I love Opal. Okay, so I haven't been able to talk about her. I love her. Opal is awesome. Okay. Opal is my favorite of the fusions that we've seen so far. Her voice is awesome. Her design is awesome. Um, she looks like a perfectly done fusion between the two characters. I love Opal. I love what they do with her. She's just awesome. And I like how her clothes hasn't even changed, even though really both of the characters' clothes have. Her clothes are still the same, and it's awesome. I love it. Um, so yeah, sorry about that. I just love Opal. She's just awesome. And then Peridot goes and confronts Garnet, saying, "Okay, I can understand why you would be fused together for a function, but you're just sitting there. Why do you need to be fused?" And then Garnet says, "Well, I just like to." So Peridot's still not understanding it. She says, Garnet eventually just says, "Okay, you know what will make this much easier? If we just fuse. Why don't we just do that?" Peridot's actually a little bit on the fence about this at first, but then gets right aboard. I guess she's always wanted to do that. And right before they confuse, she falls over. Man, I want to see her fuse. I mean, God, that would have been so cool. That's another thing that I forgot to mention in the last episode. What would their fusions be like? And now I had the chance to see one, and they just teased at it. It'll happen one of these days. So they almost fuse, but eventually, Garnet is just saying to her how she's like the two characters that she went on that long rant about. So then she understands it, and now she's got a new understanding of Garnet. Garnet actually gets on the tape recorder in one of the logs, and she tells Steven, okay, Peridot's gonna want her tape recorder back. Peridot didn't get it at the time, but I guess she does now. And so now they, and so now she's an official crystal gem. Oh yeah, and one of the things in the tape recorder I forgot to mention was her getting the tape recorder, which is pretty funny, and Steven giving her these little tin can things that were supposed to replace some of her body extensions, but didn't really do the job. Um, and so this episode was really good. Probably the main reason is because it's very funny. I really do like this episode. It is very funny. It's nice to see how she's feeling, how Peridot's feeling about being a new crystal gem and everything. That's really cool. And I really do like what they did with it. So yeah, it's a pretty funny episode. But you're not gonna get all the jokes from here. So go and watch the episode if you haven't already. And that concludes the fourth Steven bomb. So if you guys were wondering why I didn't do the third, well, it's because I didn't really like that one that much, and I really couldn't find anything that I could really talk about in it. So with that, I might do the next Steven Bomb whenever that one comes out. I hope they don't go on another hiatus immediately after this, because I want to see more. I know it takes a long time to do the animation, but I want to see more. Um, so this was a pretty good Steven Bomb, and yeah, I'm gonna take this off now. And so yeah, that's about it. Bye.